Well, hi there. Thank you so much for poking on this movie. I really appreciate you being here. I am going to be doing just a little bit of a mini, I always say mini and then it ends up being like 45 minutes long, but I thought I'd do a little bit of a lunchtime gardening tour. I work from home and I've got a little bit of time for lunch today. I don't have tons of time to get like lots of tools out and things like that to do an actual planting, but I thought maybe I would just walk around and show you some of the things that are blooming. I don't know what it was, but today I just felt something telling me, just walk around, show all the things that are blooming. Oh, hey, buddy. Get stung by a bee on your face. But you know, sometimes I just like to relax and unwind by watching somebody's garden tour. If I'm having kind of a bad day or something like that, it makes me feel good to just watch the beautiful things in other people's yards. So I thought maybe we'll do that today. All right, so let's take a walk around. I'm hoping I can get the hummingbird because the hummingbird has been going to town on my it's called Lucifer or Crocosmia. And he is just nuts over it. But I'll flip ya and then we can take a look at some beautiful things and hopefully this just brightens your day. This bed is really coming along. It has completely evolved over the years. You probably heard me say it a bunch of times, but I just started with this little tiny section right here and then I continued adding more and more. I added the pea stone area and then I added this other mulchy area down here. So that's kind of why it has different hardscapes in it. It wasn't planned like that, but I think it ended up being kind of cool. Right off the bat here, I know that I am on the search for another blue. Oh my gosh, there he is. Oh, he's so pretty. He's got like a red or an orange belly. Oh my gosh, there he is. There he is. Oh, he's so cute. But anyway, I am in search for another one of these little blue stem grasses. I had a third one in here, but I dug it up last year to give to my brother. So I want to put another one right there and move that. That is just a Victoria blue salvia that reseeded itself. This is the Crocosmia. It is such a vibrant, beautiful red flower, and the thing I love most about it is when it's not flowering, it has that really neat spiky foliage in it that looks sort of like an ornamental grass, which I love, and it stays like that all season long, and it blooms for quite some time as well. Right down in here, I've got a little line of pentas. These are beautiful, well-performing flowers, super easy to grow. Over here, I've got a little swirly of red big begonia around a couple of bedazzled Hosta. In through here, these are hopscotch Heucherella. They're from the Fun and Games series, and they're actually blooming right now with this really pretty white and pink flower, and then the foliage is just really neat too. And they get pretty much full sun out here. Right behind that, I've got 3 euonymus winter creepers, and I believe that's the Gold Splash by Proven Winner. In between there, I have an Angelonia, just for some color, and I popped those in probably like 2 weeks ago maybe, and I'm thinking about maybe a perennial that I could put in there. A lot of you guys suggested the denim and lace Russian sage. I think that's a really great suggestion. Behind that, I have the spilled wine Weigela, and I love the color of that foliage so much. These have put on quite a bit of size this year, and they bloom a really pink bloom in the springtime. My Annabelle Hydrangeas are starting to bud up and bloom, so I'm pretty excited about that. These have also put on quite a bit of size this season. I planted these last year in the fall, I believe, or summer, fall. I got them for 75% off, I think. In fact, all of these plants in here I got for 50 to 75% off, except for those annuals. I think those were 25%. off. Here's a close-up on that, and then the winter creeper as well. And then over here on the end, I've got a really pretty lantana for some more color. These are just blue junipers here. And then I love back in here, there's a little bit of a peak of this orange coneflower along with this lobelia, and then this nice slimy green creeping jenny provides so much color as well. And these three plants right here, these are the Caesar's Brother Siberian Iris. They bloom a really cool bloom in the springtime. So moving down here, got a little patch big begonias planted. Those were planted super late. Underneath here, these are Christmas tree hosta with some wild berry heuchera in between. Then over here, this is an etched glass hosta with a dark reader geranium. This gets really pretty purple flowers. And then down here I've got some lately planted pink big begonias, and then I also all along the line here I have this silver gumdrop heuchera. So it kind of just repeats like that all the way down the line. I always like to put like a cool colored rock in there to add to it. These are actually frosted explosion grass. It's basically just a weed, but I thought it looked pretty, so I left it in there. And then some big begonia and another silver gumdrop heuchera. In between, I've got some massive limelight hydrangeas that did not get pruned this year, and you can totally tell because they're super misshapen. I just didn't have enough time. I didn't get to it. So this next year I'm gonna have to really go to town on these guys because they are getting way too big, and I don't want them, let me check this out here. I don't want them to be going into my neighbor's yard. Oh, it's not that bad. You know what? In fact, I do remember I did trim the edges of them over here because I was like, I at least have to trim off this side of them because I didn't want them to be going into my neighbor's yard. But these are just great. I've had these limelights for 7 years maybe. These are, I try to find a picture when I planted them, but these are the first thing I planted over here. I got them for 50% off at Home Depot one year, and I just threw them in here, and I didn't have any edging or anything like that in here at the time. This is kind of my raised vegetable garden that I turned into a cut flower garden this year. It's probably like noon and this still doesn't have sun on it, and you know, when I put this garden bed in, these trees were significantly smaller 7-8 years ago, and they did get a lot more sun, and as the years kind of went on, this gets less and less sun. So it's not, I mean, it's beautiful. My snapdragons are just amazing. I've cut on these so much, and they're doing great. I've got my zinnias that are doing really great. I want to show you my roses here are starting to put on lots of new growth and even budding up. And over here, they're actually blooming. Oh man, I got lots of weeding out here to do. But these are the pretty and pink Eden roses. So pretty. And I love that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 blooms that are facing my neighbor's yard. I just really think that's cool because then she can share, hopefully, in I mean, I don't know if she likes roses or not, but if she does, then this is great. She can share in my excitement and the beauty of the roses. I've got some hydrangea that are blooming, which is really exciting, amongst these, what is this? Forbidden fruit hosta. and this is the best these hydrangeas have ever looked. These 3 hydrangeas right here, they started out in my front garden bed and just did horrible out there, and I moved them about 3 different places since. Just this past spring I moved them here and they do great here. Let's go back up over here and I'll show ya how this is doing. Looks pretty good. I had to rework this whole section right here because this was full of Hakanakloa grass, just like densely thick full of it, and a lot of it died back because I didn't take care of it properly last fall, and I had to dig it up, replant it, and it's doing really great. So are my impatiens that I planted around it. Up in here I've got some really pretty like Hosta and Heuchera underneath this little Japanese maple tree. And the bunny this year has been getting, well, I should say the bunnies. There's like a family reunion of bunnies going on in my yard every day and every night. It's crazy. It's not just one bunny. See a bunny and then like 3 more pop out. But they're going to town on my impatiens. These impatiens right here, I've got a couple different clumps there, and they just keep eating them off. I also noticed that they're eating a Hosta that's back in the back. Here, I'll show you. But for some reason they are eating that Hosta back there. That's the one that I dug up and split this year, and there's a bunch of stems that are gone. I don't really mind the Hosta that they're biting in the back because you can't really see it, but the impatiens are like front and center, so that's kind of driving me nuts. But all right, let's look at the zinnias that I planted this year. For the first time I planted this little hill here with these whirligig zinnias, and they're doing so great. I cannot believe it. This is my first time planting this variety of zinnias, and first time planting them on a hill and in this section. I love it so much. I used to have a beautyberry bush here, and I loved that so much too. But my sister used that beautyberry bush a lot because she cuts on it and uses it for her different projects that she does. So I removed it this spring and gave it to her and decided to jam pack this full of zinnias, and I'm so glad I did that because this is the most beautiful that this hill has ever looked. Like when I'm sitting out there on my deck, I just look up this hill and it just makes me so happy. This is a great sturdy stemmed zinnia. It's not flapping or leaning, none of it is staked. I don't water it, it gets watered by my overhead sprinkling. It's just a great plant. I'm totally gonna do that next year. So in here we've just got lots of coneflower that are blooming. That's a big one right there. Yeah, different color coneflower. This is the sombrero, this is the powwow wildberry, and then this is a little quickfire hydrangea. Then we've got some phlox that are blooming as well. Oh, those smell really good. Oh, these phlox are pretty too. I'm gonna try to save the seeds from these poppies, so that's why I left this looking like that. This is looking really great as well. My big begonias are growing in, and I decided to put some blue salvia in there as well and kind of make this another red, white, and blue section. The white being my rocks. But yeah, this is just red big begonia, some blue salvia. Everybody asked me what this little lollipop tree is. That is a shag white pine. It's a beautiful tree, I love it. Super easy to grow, no maintenance. These are green velvet boxwoods in through here. And I've got 3 little lime hydrangeas over there. This is one of my other red, white, and blue sections. The blue being the globe blue spruce with some white euphorbia and red big begonia. These white Annabelle Hydrangeas have been white for so long this season. I'm just loving how long this white bloom is lasting. I want to come in here and do some maintenance on this. I want to cut back all the dead foliage here where the heuchera had bloomed, so we'll clean that up. I also have to clean the suckers off of this tree. I swear these grow like overnight. I clean the suckers off this tree probably 10 times a season. It's crazy. But it's looking really good. All right, let's walk down through the gully. Everyone's gonna ask me about that tree. That's a dappled willow tree, and it is the same as that tree. Got two of the same. Down in through here, I have these beautiful Oh So Easy roses, and they bloom for so long. And I'm stalling because I'm blanking on the name of this. Urban Legend rose. In between those, I've got the hibiscus that are starting to set buds. These are the deep red blooming hibiscus. They're called Holy Grail, and they're proven winner. The roses are proven winner as well. Oh, one of you asked, I just haven't responded yet, but this is called an Onethera. I have been searching for so long for this plant, and I found it right in my backyard at Cherry Valley Gardens this summer. I got 5 of them, I think, and planted them all around this hibiscus here. But this flowers all season long. It just keeps going. It's so beautiful, that color. I came in here and trimmed back some of my lamb's ear, but I'm gonna have to trim back the rest. I don't really see too many more bees on it anymore, so I think it'll be okay to trim it back. My little cut flower garden is doing good in here with my blue salvia and snapdragons here. This is the Chantilly snapdragon mix. It's really pretty and like fluffy looking. My Cleome are doing so good in here. And my only rose that's performing above the other roses is this Charlotte rose. And it's surrounded by all these Cleome. I'm not sure if that's what's helping it, because the others are just getting eaten on by the rabbits. Over in here, all this blue salvia that I planted is doing really great. And I'm hoping that it comes back next year. Oh, this one, oh my gosh. Okay, so this one came back from last year. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's like curly leaves on it. Earlier this year, this was covered in black aphids, and I was gonna cut it off, but I thought, you know what? I'd rather have them just be on a host plant, be on one plant, instead of like all over. So I left it. I didn't touch it, I didn't spray it, I didn't do anything to it, and they're gone, and the plant is still here. So that's pretty cool. We've got just some coneflowers blooming. A few different kinds that have reverted. These used to be all the same kind, I believe, and now they're like look like 3 different ones. This looks like kind of a mess. I really want to clean this up next season. I kind of just threw in the rest of my annuals in here. I've got a volunteer Rebecca in there. My roses are not doing the greatest, so I really want to have like a thought process to this area right here if my roses don't work out. So we'll cross that bridge later. But my Rebecca are starting to bloom. I love this little section right here. These are all Victoria Blue Salvia that came back from last season. So that's awesome. It's just a nice thick hedge of them. I love it so much. And then, of course, the black-eyed Susan Rudbeckia is blooming here with some just the coneflowers. This is the white, I think, powwow white. These are the powwow wildberry. I'm not sure what that one is anymore. I think that might have been Cheyenne Spirit, and it's reverting. These Carex are doing great here. They have put on so much growth in this little section, better than any of my Carex that I've had planted for years anywhere else. This is the Price's White coneflower. I would highly recommend this coneflower. It has massive blooms on it. It's loaded in blooms, and then the foliage is also almost like a bluish color, which I really love. My wee white hydrangeas are doing the best they've ever done this year. I moved them last season. They were over there in a more shady spot, and now they get a significant amount of sun compared to where they were, and they're just loving it. Got some more coneflower down here. These are just a mixture of the wild berry, the sombrero red, and then I think I've got the whites are the white powwow white. This is an August moon hosta, and these are my 3 Tough Stuff hydrangea. These did get nipped with a late frost, so I wasn't sure if they were going to throw on any blooms, but they are throwing a little bit of blooms on the old growth. This is all the new growth right here, so I'm hoping we get at least some blooms off of that new growth. But we will see. I'm hoping that they get enough sun right here. I know they get enough water. That's what the bloom looks like. Isn't that pretty? I love it. Let's see here. Just trying to find the things that are blooming. Of course, we've got Hosta blooming right now. My impatiens are filling in this area, which is really exciting. Down here in this little section, I kind of have it sectioned out with this pea stone area. All these impatiens that you see in here reseeded themselves from last year, I guess, and they grew up in here, so that's kind of cool. I thought they were weeds. I'm like, wait a minute, that looks like an impatient, so I left them. So it does look a little messy, but I just couldn't pull those flowers out. Let's see here. This is looking pretty good over in here. I really want to come out and do a hosta tour at some point, but first I want to clean up. You can see my hosta, a lot of my hosta are getting done blooming, and so I would like to clean all that up before I do a bit of a tour, just so they look a little nicer for you guys. Some of them are starting to bloom and they're looking great. Oh, I was gonna tell you too, the other day I came in here, this is the rabbits. I seen them out here, like 3 or 4 of them at a time. So the other day I noticed somebody had eaten this hosta. They ate all the leaves off and then left a stem. Well, I don't know, about a week later they did the same thing to this hosta, and now they're doing it to that one. This is a blue Hawaii hosta. They haven't touched any other hosta in here. Like, everything else is like completely left untouched except for those 2. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Maybe they just really like the blue Hawaii. This planter is doing pretty good. I love this begonia, and I believe this was called a canary dragonwing. Oh my word, I love it so much, so much. It brightens this spot up a ton, like when you're looking from that way, or if you're looking down from, you know, this way, like your eye just goes directly to that planter, and it provides so much brightness back here, along with my white Annabelle Hydrangeas. This area right here is kind of a work in progress. I started putting this area in 2020 when we were on lockdown. My gully garden, it only went to about halfway through this bed. There was a tree right here, oh, right there, and it kind of rotted, so we cut it down. But that's kind of where this gully garden stopped. It was all that I had been working on through the years. 2020, I came in and just went to town on this area. Then the last few years, I've been kind of pushing it back. So this area back here is kind of a work in progress. I want to somehow create like another pathway that leads you straight back behind my sheds. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Oh, let's go over here, and I want to show you my stokesia that's blooming. This is a beautiful flower, and it's called a Stokes Aster Stokesia, Peach's Pick maybe, but it is just a really neat flower, and I love the foliage. It's a really cool texture of foliage when it's not blooming. You might have heard me say it before, but in my garden, if I'm gonna plant a flowering perennial, anything, I would consider that anything other than like a hosta or fern or grass or something like that. I mean, I know a hosta throws a flower up, but any flowering perennial like your salvia, stokesia, veronica, rebeckia, coneflower, like delphinium, all that kind of stuff I would consider a flowering perennial. If I'm going to plant those in my garden, first and foremost, it has to have an interesting foliage, either something colorful, something that's texturally interesting, something that's shaped really cool, maybe glossy leaves, something like that that provides more excitement for me throughout the year, because I live in Michigan and we don't have like the longest growing season. So if I'm gonna plant a flowering perennial in my garden, I want it to give me more enjoyment than just the flower that it provides for 2 or 3 weeks out of the year. And I can't be bothered to come in and hack things back all the time and hope that it gives me a second bloom that's not nearly as prolific as the first one. I can't be bothered with that. I would rather just pick perennials that have a really interesting foliage that I can enjoy before and after it flowers. So that's just my opinion. But anyway, I say all that because stokesia is one of those. It has a beautiful, beautiful flower. It dries really well, does great in arrangements, but when it's not flowering, the foliage looks really neat too, and so I can enjoy that for the majority of the season. And this is why I plant a lot of hosta, because you can get a lot of different variety in color, shapes, and size of hosta, and you know, the bloom is just an added bonus. Same thing with heuchera. This is just so much color right here. I mean, like that's like yellow and purple, you know, black and green, whatever you want to call that. So much color going on right there, and nothing is blooming. It's just the foliage that does that all season long. And then anytime something does bloom, like these cute little wrinkle in time hosta, it's just an added extra color. Another thing I like to do in my garden is use hardscapes and stuff like this. So I found this rock in the woods. It had some really pretty moss on it, and I thought, man, that would create lots of texture and something really interesting to look at in my garden. So I pulled it out of the woods and plopped it right there. Annabelle Hydrangea are kind of flapping over my retaining wall here, and I Love it so much. I feel like Annabelle hydrangeas get a super bad rap because they flop over in a rainstorm or in heavy winds or something like that. And they do in fact do that. But I've found that if you have it in the right spot, it can really do wonders for your garden. I feel like I've got this giant planter, and this is like my spiller spilling over the side of my planter, and it's so beautiful. It is also spilling into some of my other plants up there, but I honestly don't mind. I knew how big these Annabelles would get because my mom has a couple of them in her yard, and I grew up with that Annabelle in our yard, and I know how big they get. So I planted these guys significantly far away from my house, and I gave them enough space from the other plants as well. I think I might come in here eventually and move some of my blue halcyon hosta that are kind of hiding in there and just bring them forward a little bit. But honestly, I don't mind that my Annabelles flop over. If they were in a different spot in my garden, it might bother me a little bit more. And I feel like this section always looks a little bit magical with these big mop head hydrangea blooms. Well, thank you guys so much for coming along with this little impromptu tour of some of the things that are blooming in the garden. Sometimes I get so focused on all the tasks and planting and weeding and things that I have to do, and then I'm like, wait a minute, it's been like a month and I didn't even show any of the blooms that are going on or whatever. So I really do want to get out and do a hosta tour because I know a lot of you have been requesting that, and I do have a lot of variety of hosta, and I can talk about them and let you know if you're looking for a certain kind for a certain area in your garden. I love to test hosta out in the full sun, full shade, part shade, dry areas, wet areas, lots of different things. So if you have questions on that, we can go over that in that tour movie. But anyway, I think I got to get back inside to work, but it's just been such a pleasure walking around the garden with you guys today. And if you were having kind of a bad morning, afternoon, or night whenever you're watching this, I hope that this kind of brightens your spirits a little bit. And if you're not, if you're just having a great day, I hope that your great day continues. So we'll see you guys later. Bye.